in the middle of a sermon series called Endless Possibilities. Part of this, most of this comes out of a book that I just released 31 days ago called Endless Possibilities. That's brilliant, right? And if you haven't got a copy yet, I encourage you to pick up a copy. And if you just financially are not in a place to do it, will you let me know? Because I would love to give you a copy because I feel that strong about it. I want everybody to read through it and get the principles that are in this book. And especially if you're newer to this church, and I want you to there's a lot of stories about where this church came from and how we started and things that we went through and seasons that we went through. And then a lot of it's just about the way Carol and I have approached our walk with God. And it's about following that whisper or that nudge, learning how to walk by faith even in the little things every day. So pick up a copy for a friend and invite them here for next week. So the third principle I'm gonna go into, we've gone through two principles. Obviously there's bunches and we're not gonna go through all of them. But the third principle today is it's chapter 14, probably one of the most brutal principles and brutal chapters of the book. And it's called the cost, all right? If you are going to live a life with endless possibilities, then there is a cost. Amen, somebody. So this is one of the scariest principles to obey, but it is by far the most rewarding principles to obey. And so it will cost you to follow Christ. It is recorded in the book of Matthew, it is recorded in the book of Mark, and it is recorded in the book of Luke. Now, those are called the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And each one of those books are a disciple's perspective or view on the 3.5 years or the life of Christ. And so both Matthew, Mark, and Luke all share this same principle. They got it. And that lets me know that it was obviously a pivotal moment in Jesus talking to his disciples. So there will be a cost when you follow the nudge. If you truly want to live your life and enjoy the blessings and all that God really has for you, it's going to cost you. So here's a verse, Matthew chapter 16, verse 24. This is what Jesus said. If you have a Bible, and it's a red letter edition Bible, then this would be in red because this is Jesus himself actually talking. So Matthew chapter 16, verse 24, it says this, "Then Jesus said to his disciples." Now, I'm only going to read one verse today because I believe it's that powerful and I want you all to get it. "Then Jesus said to his disciples, if any," everybody say any, "if any of you wants to be my follower." That word for any is all of us. Nobody is excluded. That's all of us. If you're in this building, if you're watching online, and for those that don't even know this message is being preached, it said, if any of you want to be my follower. How many have a desire to be a follower? Yeah, just lift up your hand. I desire to follow the Lord. If you're going to follow him, it will cost you. It's going to cost you. And you will have to surrender all areas of your life in order to truly follow Jesus. He goes on in that verse and said, you must give up your own way. Right there is powerful. You can't do it your way. There's not two ways. There's one Lord, there's one faith, there's one baptism. You can't live for God on your own terms, all right? I know that sounds nice and kind and generous, but you cannot do it your own way. You must give up your own way and take up your cross and follow me. That's what Jesus said. He said, you must give up your own way, take up your cross, and follow me. Here's what I have definitely learned over the years of my life. When an individual, company, or organization compromises one time, whether it's on principle, value, or price, the next compromise is right around the corner. All right, let me say that again. Listen carefully. When an individual, company, or organization, a church, a family, compromises one time, whether it's on principle or value or price, the next compromise is easier. It's right around the corner. Basically, he who compromises first loses. It's going to cost you. It's going to cost you. You must give up your own way, take up your cross, and follow me, Jesus said. Over and over throughout our life, Carol and I's life, we've witnessed this personally. And when we were just a few years into our marriage, I owned an insurance agency. And I was in my mid-20s, and we were starting out doing really well. Life was just going along. We were making good money. We had just purchased a newer home, and we had nice cars. And I mean, we were just kind of thinking, man, we're figuring this life out pretty good. And then God, after a couple years of this, living this nice, just wonderful, comfortable life, then God nudged me. God nudged me and shared it with Carol, and God began to work on us. I felt the nudge to leave what I was doing and go work for a church full-time doing the music and the worship. And honestly, this was a very big decision. And because at that point, we were making over 6 figures, and life was comfortable. We were living comfortable. We were well on our way to a very nice life. In fact, every once in a while, Carol will just look at me and say, just think if we'd have just kept doing that, where we would be today. And let's not think about that. But there was a nudge. And so we left that life to go take a job at a church in Dayton for $25,000 a year. Now, you may say, yeah, but that was a long time ago. Listen, $25,000 wasn't a lot of money even a long time ago. And I mean, when you have 2 kids, it was a struggle. And I mean, there was times that we thought, how in the world are we going to make it? Not to mention that we couldn't sell our home. So it was 87 miles one way to this church. And I was doing it 5 and 6 days a week. So our little Honda Accord took a beating over the next year and 10 months. I mean, we wore that baby out and driving the roads, doing what we knew God had called us to do, followed the nudge. It was not comfortable, but it was the nudge, and we were obeying the nudge. I had family tell me, Mark, that's not very responsible. And I'm thinking, yeah, you are actually right. This is dumb. This does not make sense. This is not logical. And, I had other people, they were like, what in the world are you doing? You could do that business and still work for the Lord, which actually you could, but that's not what God was nudging me to do. God knew my personality. He knew how I was, that I'm an all or nothing kind of guy. Whatever I'm doing it with everything I've got. And so we did. We went there and we went to this church for the year and 10 months, and we had no idea the cost of this nudge. Our lives begin to change. Things begin to change, and God began to teach us how to trust him. God began to work in our hearts and say, listen, I need you to learn how to totally trust me, because you are too full of yourself and you think that you can figure it all out, solve every problem, work it out, make a few more bucks, do whatever needs to happen to figure it out. But it's not going to happen. This nudge is not going to happen unless you do it my way. And here's what I've learned. If you want to walk on water, you got to learn how to let go of the boat. Can I say that again? If you're going to learn how to walk on water, everybody wants the miracle. Everybody wants to walk on water. Everything, oh man, that was so cool what Peter did. He just got out of that boat, walked on water. Everybody would like to have that story. But you're going to have to learn to let go of the boat if you're going to learn how to enjoy what I call all the time around here, endless possibilities of following Christ. So you got to let go. You got to let go. And so we watched over the years to come, in fact, for the next 20 years, as we begin to trust the Lord, doors would open. Opportunities would happen. We would meet people, and that would open up another door. And God began to fill our schedule, and we begin to travel and work in churches all across the country and all around the world. We would go in and lead worship and work with their teams, and God began to bless, and God began to, open doors for, we recorded and wrote a lot of music that blessed the world. And God would have done that, or did that, through normal, ordinary people. I didn't have really. I always felt like I was the greatest fake in the music industry because I didn't feel like I was really talented enough for God to use me like he was using me. I didn't feel like I was skilled enough. I didn't feel like I had the education, enough education to do what I was doing. But see, when you walk with God and you trust him and you're willing to pay the cost, what you find out is God is a master of taking the inadequate and doing more than adequate with it. You may feel like, I can't do this job. I'm not ready for this workplace. I'm not ready for this promotion. I'm not qualified. But see, when you trust the Lord and say, okay, I'm going to take this, God, you've opened this door, what you're going to find out, you're going to look back over your shoulder and say, I'm doing things that other people that have a better education than me are doing. But you learn to let go of the boat and you learn to trust God, and you are now living in the endless possibilities or the goodness of those choices and those ideas and those thoughts and all of it. But there's a cost. John Maxwell says it like this: you got to give up in order to go up. You got to be willing to pay the cost in order to get to where God wants to take you. Are you getting all this morning? So for the next 20 years, God began to open the doors, and we got to enjoy so many wonderful things. Here's what I've learned, that most people get caught in the cost. Most people get caught in the pain. Most people get caught in the frustration. And they never get to enjoy or focus on what all God's doing. They get caught up, well, I got to give up this, and I got to do this, and I got to suffer here, and nobody's liking what I'm doing, and nobody believes in what I'm doing. And let me tell you, when you step out into the nudge, you're going to find that not everybody is believing in you. When you follow the nudge, you're going to find that some of your family won't understand the decisions that you're making. When you follow the nudge, you're going to find that some people are going to say, that doesn't make any sense. That's not logical. Don't put yourself at that kind of risk. Don't do that. But see, you know that God has nudged you, spoken to you, whispered to you to make that move, to do that, what God has asked you to do, to obey the nudge. And on the other side of obedience are blessings. So there were times in that journey that we went and we couldn't figure out how we were making it. And I've shared this before if you're newer here, but I mean, there was one particular time I remember, I'll never forget it. Carol and I were in our living room praying. She was praying at the chair, and I was praying in another chair in our living room. And I was just, I was frustrated, to be honest with you. I was like, God, I don't get this. I'm trying to do your will, and it's not going my way. And it just seems like it's so painful, and I don't understand why you're not blessing this. And I don't understand why the windows of heaven aren't open. And I just thought when we made this move, everything was going to be easy right away. Sometimes it takes time for God to get us out of our own way. And so we were sitting there in our living room praying, and I'm kind of frustrated, and I'm giving God a piece of my mind. I don't recommend that. I just don't do it. Don't take that class. But I'm just giving God a piece of my mind, saying, God, I don't get this. This is not fair. We're just surrendering. We're just doing the will of God. And this is like, we're hurting. Don't you see that we're struggling? And I'm just telling God like it is. I don't know if you've ever done that, but that's where I was. I was frustrated. Carol, she's over in the other chair. Just sweet little Carol. Oh, God, don't strike him dead. He doesn't mean half of that. He's just a little wound up. But there's a cost. There's a cost when you follow the nudge. But my goodness, on the other side of whatever price you are paying right now, you're going to find God beginning to open doors. You say, well, my spouse isn't with me, or my children aren't going with me, or, my family doesn't understand why I'm going to church every week, and they don't understand why I'm reading my Bible every day. They don't understand why I would step into this ministry. Don't worry about what everyone else is thinking. Worry about what God is asking you to do. Because on the other side of obedience, you're going to watch God begin to orchestrate your life in ways that you never dreamed possible. But you've got to be faithful. Let me tell you, there is power in faithfulness. Can I say that again? There's power in faithfulness. I have watched over the years people that are in and out. They're in church for a while, they're out of church for a while. They're faithful for a while, then they're not faithful for a while. Let me tell you, it's okay to be up and down, but don't spend your life in and out. Stay in your walk with God. Stay in the church. Be faithful, because when it's all said and done, you're going to look back over your shoulder and you're going to see how God has blessed you. And over the 20 years, that's what God did. He just opened up so many amazing opportunities that I didn't deserve and that I was not qualified for. And we have some of the greatest memories and some of the greatest moments and opportunities that God opened up around the world by just being faithful and walking with Him. Yes, there was a cost. And just about the time that we've got it all going on again, I mean, everything is comfortable again. Our kids are almost grown. I'm thinking I'm going to have Carol all to myself in another year or two. We're 1 year from our house being paid off, and I'm thinking, man, I see the light at the end of the tunnel. Life is about to get really smooth. And just about that time, I get another nudge. Except this time, this nudge did not make sense. This time, God's nudging us to start a church. Well, first of all, I thought, there's a pastor down in Florida and had a very successful church. And I said, okay, we'll go do that. We're at that age where, palm trees and sunshine and a building and all that seemed to be pretty comfortable. I could definitely see, if we're going to do this, if this is what you're asking, let's do it in the most comfortable way that we can possibly do this. I've just spent 20 years, just living in the power of your goodness and blessing. So let's not just take a nosedive here in our life at this point. But that was not what God was nudging. He said, we're going to go plant a church. And I said, God, you realize, that's not really my expertise. You realize I write songs. Planting a church is I don't have the skill sets. I don't have the qualifications. And God said, did you have the qualifications and the skill sets to do everything I asked you to do before? Why don't you just let me take care of the harvest? You sow the seed, you obey, and I'll take care of the rest of it. Amen, somebody. So we got the family together and we said, hey, we're going to go plant a church, and we're all of our family, our kids, we're all sitting in our living room. And, of course, it seemed a whole lot more exciting in that moment. But we planted Infinite Church. Next week, we'll celebrate 11 incredible years. But it didn't start out incredible. The first 3 or 4 years, we knew that we were going to pay a little bit of a price. We knew this was going to cost us. My kids thought there'd be like hundreds and hundreds of people on day one, and I was just like, oh God, they're going to be disappointed. And when they see how this starts, and so, it was brutal. It was brutal. And, we lost friends, we lost comfort, we lost salaries, we lost everything. We thought 25,000 was bad. We went from 25,000 to nothing. And we didn't know how we were going to make it. We didn't know. In fact, one year, about 2 or 3 years in, my accountant says, how are you living? And I said, that's a really good question. That's why I'm talking to you. And those first 3 or 4 years, people were coming, but we didn't really know them well. We didn't have like good friendships with them. And people were just saying, Mark, what are you doing? That's not the will of God. You're not called to do that. And friends and family and people I respected, they were just saying, that's crazy. Don't do that. What is Mark doing? And it seemed like all my identity, everything I was known for or did or comfortable with, all of it was just going down the toilet. Just everything. We had never been so broke since the day we got married. And so all that stress over the first 3 or 4 years was just pounding. And I said, God, why is this not making more sense? And it even got to the place where all that stress, Carol was getting on my nerves. And I was getting on Carol's nerves. In fact, there was a few times her and Michael said, do you think we could find some place for Dad to go sing for a couple days? Just get him out of the house, Maybe there'll be a church that'll still have him come and sing for a day or two. They just like, he needs a break and we need a break, so get him out of here, It was rough. There was a cost. We had no clue of what that cost would be. But as I stand here today and I realize all that God has done, we've baptized 361 people in the last 11 years. We've watched God do crazy things, and I'm going to talk about some of this next week in my message as we wrap up these Endless Possibilities series. But we are living in the blessings now, the endless possibilities now. We didn't have a lot of friends back then. Everything we had seemed like it just evaporated. But now God has given us so many amazing new friendships and connections, and God's brought some people back into our lives, and God has brought so many new people into our lives. And I wouldn't even know you had it not been for the cost in following the nudge. We didn't get it. We didn't understand all that God would do. But now I can tell you it was the best decision I could have ever made in my life and for many of your lives because following the nudge brings endless possibilities. And I can't wait to share with you next week where I believe that God is saying, I feel like we've been on kind of just a slow, steady rise, but I feel like God is about to turn this thing up, and we're going to impact Columbus, and we're going to impact Central Ohio, and I can't wait to share it with you next week. I'm asking you, please be here next Sunday and bring someone with you, because I believe the best is in front of us. I believe God wants to do things that we couldn't even imagine. But it's all on obeying the nudge. You can't live for God and enjoy all the endless possibilities without paying the cost. Every last one of you will have to take up your cross. I can't carry your cross for you. I can't do your spiritual push-ups for you. You've got to do your own push-ups. You got to pay your own cost. I would love to lighten the load for you. But see, that's where God is guiding you and leading you and helping you to get the best out of your life. God's saying, listen, I want you to follow me. Take up your cross. Get out of the boat. Step out into the water. Because on the other side of that, you're going to look back over your shoulder and say, look what the Lord has done. He's an amazing God. And you will never, ever outgive the Lord. See, so many people, they get caught in the nudge. They get caught complaining. It's not going my way. It's not happening like I said. I stepped out and followed the nudge, and it didn't work like the pastor said, and it didn't work as fast as pastor would said, and I stepped out on that idea, and I obeyed that ministry, or I gave that sacrificial offering, or God led me to do what I'm supposed to do, and I stepped out and did it. I started that Bible study, and it all crumbled. It all fell apart. Listen, be faithful. Don't ever stop following what God has for your life, because in the end you're going to look back and you're going to see there are endless possibilities when you follow Christ. It doesn't matter what your mom says, your dad says, your sibling says, your friends say. What matters is, what is God nudging you to do? What is God asking you? I believe right now that God is nudging many in this room, and maybe some watching online. He's wanting you to go all in. He's wanting you to realize there is a cost, but if you'll pay the cost, it's going to hurt. I would love to tell you, if you meet Jesus today, your life gets so much simpler tomorrow, but that's just not how it works. It's not how it works. There is a cost. There's nothing fancy about a cross. There's nothing easy about a cross. There's nothing comfortable about a cross. I'm asking you to sign up to carry your cross. I'm asking you, put the cross over your shoulder and say, God, I don't care where this goes. I'm just going to follow you. Whatever the end result is, I'm going to leave it up to you. I'm going to obey the nudge, and I'm going to leave the fruit up to you. I'm going to leave the harvest up to you. I'm going to trust that you know what's best for my life and where I'm going. Take up your cross and follow Jesus. Because on the other side of that, one day you're going to look back and say, man, I'm glad I paid the price. If nothing else, one day we're going to walk on streets of gold. One day we're going to walk into heaven, and we're going to realize, God, my whole life has been about this. My whole life has been to know you. My whole life has been to please you and honor you and bring glory to you. Yes, I've struggled sometimes. Yes, I've doubted sometimes. Yes, I wondered, God, is he going to show up sometimes? But when I look back, I thought, God, you did this for me. You opened this door for me. God, you filled this church for us. Lord, you brought so many people into our life, and now I'm enjoying and loving and just absolutely glorying in the goodness of God. I'm going to ask you to stand. I have one invitation that I want to do in this place today. I want you to listen to me very carefully right now. I want everyone to meet Jesus right now. I want you to meet the one who has led my life and allowed me to enjoy such incredible, endless possibilities. You say, well, I've already met Jesus. That's fine. But if you're in this place and you would like to meet him either for the first time, or if you would just like to meet him fresh today, I'm asking you to follow that nudge. If you feel that right now, that God is nudging you to get closer to him. God is nudging you to get rid of the distractions. Get rid of the hurts. Your next move is greater than your last disappointment. Can I say that again? Your next move is more powerful than your last mistake. And so I'm asking you, I'm inviting you to follow the nudge, obey the nudge. And I'm opening up this altar area, and I'm asking everybody to obey that nudge and walk up here right now and say, I want to meet Jesus. If you've never met him in your life, I'm excited to introduce to you Jesus Christ.